In 6 hours, what can I do?
Have a nice dive and come back.
For 6 hours, the gravitational pull of the moon has been slowing the Earth's spin, with a force equivalent to 6,000 jets, making every day just that little bit longer. The gargantuan force the moon exerts on the Earth every day, well, it doesn't stop at water.
Every person knows that there are tides in the ocean. But what many people don't realize is that the moon also causes tides in the Earth, so what are called solid Earth tides.
It might seem incredible that the moon can move solid land, but there is evidence on the moon itself. In the late 1960s, NASA detected moonquakes. And yet the moon has no tectonic plates to rub against each other. The explanation? The gravitational attraction between moon and Earth is strong enough to move the solid surface of the moon. This mutual attraction has the same effect down here. The moon's pull is strong enough to lift the land underfoot.
Solid Earth tides, or rock tides, they can be measured with GPS. They cause the GPS stations to go up or down, and so we can measure how high these stations are rising all along the globe. And this is happening about twice per day. 6:30 today at this location, we're going to be at our highest, about 25 centimeters.
You might think you'd notice a wave of solid rock, but they happen over such a huge area that they're imperceptible to us. But it doesn't mean we're not affected. The latest research suggests they can cause earthquakes.
If earthquake faults are really close to failing and creating an earthquake, then this tiny change may be enough just to tip that fault off to failing.
The moon might be behind devastating tidal bores and even trigger earthquakes. But without it, we'd be in trouble. The gravitational grip that slows down the Earth's rotation also keeps it from wobbling on its axis. Without this stabilizing force, our climate would swing from one extreme to another, making life almost impossible. So be thankful that the Earth moves beneath our feet every single day.
Em 7 horas normalmente.
7 hours is about the amount of time I spend in bed, give or take.
In 7 hours, a wave of solid rock half a meter high has traveled 12,000 kilometers around the Earth. And you didn't feel a thing. This is the Sahara, Morocco to be precise. And in this part of the world, land doesn't just move, it can actually fly.
It's stunning, the landscape here. It's peaceful and remote, but the other way, it's dynamic. You get to experience how nature is moving every day.
Geologist Charlie Bristow spends his time trying to figure out how solid Earth can cross oceans. The story begins on a dried-out lake bed.
It's very dry.
Very, very dry.
This isn't just any old mud. It's special because of what was swimming around about 10,000 years ago.
This place appears dead. There's nothing here. It's dried out. It's completely desiccated. But the lake was here, and in the lake, there were little animals living here. And just in here, lost him. There he is. There, something called an ostracod, which is a little crustacean, little crab-like animal that was living in the lake. They're kind of cute little things. So there were things living in here, and their remains are still there. So within the mud, there are nutrients.
Nutrients that are about to find themselves on the other side of the world.
Hello, Veronica.
I'm Veronica Janessa.
I'm Ramon Llanesa.
Ready to go dive? We decided to take a trip to the Bahamas, and it was a 4-day trip, and it's pretty amazing.
Veronica, an environmental engineer, and her dad, Ramon, a technical dive specialist, love to explore challenging underwater environments, like this 15-kilometer cave system in the Bahamas.
Out of nowhere, you see this hole.
A small hole.
Yeah. And then it opens up to these beautiful caves with all of these stalactites and stalagmites, and it's beautiful.
Alien world.
Yeah.
An alien world.
Yeah.
Deep into the caves, something caught their eye. Something that didn't belong.
Suddenly you start to see pink
Prints, yeah.
and red.
You would see this red dust.
It's very, very fine. I say, where is this? Where is it coming from?
What they had stumbled on in the Bahamas was exactly the same stuff that Charlie Bristow was digging out of a dried-out lake bed 6,500 kilometers away in the Saharan desert.
The people say, do you know that that's from the Sahara? How do you know?
A lot of geology is detective work. So in order to link the dust sediments from the Sahara with those that have been found in the Caribbean, you can use a variety of rare earth elements found in minute amounts. They're good for fingerprinting the dust and show that the dust that leaves Africa is the same as the dust that arrives in the Caribbean.
But how does dust from a dried-out Saharan lake bed take off and fly across an ocean? That's what Charlie has now figured out. And it starts with the wind. It blows here almost constantly and can literally move mountains. Saharan dunes are some of the fastest moving land masses on Earth.
Wind usually blows from one direction, over the windward side of the dune, and then it deposits it on the leeward side of the dune. This is making little avalanches down the front of the dune. And these dunes really motor, get a really strong howling gale, and that'll drive the dune forwards, maybe over a meter in a single day. They're like the F1 cars of the dune world.
Fast-moving, maybe, but the sand in these dunes isn't about to take off and cross the Atlantic. It's too heavy. But it is going to help send the nutritious mud in this lake bed on its way west. Charlie realized that once you bring together sand, wind, and dried-out lake bed, then the mystery of the dust could be explained.
Yeah, on the rope. Obviously, we need the wind in order to transport it. But it helps to have that third ingredient of the sand to sand blast the surface and break bits up.
This process of smashing up mud into dust is known as saltation and is the secret to releasing huge quantities of lake bed into the air.
One grain bounces into the others. Those grains impact into others, and it's a chain reaction. One grain to many grains, to thousands of grains, to millions of grains. Every day, time after time after time. This is one of the crappiest pool tables I've ever seen.
And once the dust hits the air, it's everywhere.
You try to drink anything, there's dust in it. You try to eat anything, there's dust in it. There's dust in your eyes, dust in your nose, dust in your mouth, dust in your ears, dust in your hair, dust in your clothes. You know, there is dust everywhere.
The fine dust floats thousands of meters into the atmosphere, hitching a ride west on the trade winds across the Atlantic Ocean. NASA satellites have measured 500,000 tons of dust rising per day, flying west at 40 kilometers per hour. As it travels, the cloud drops off thousands of tons of the superfertile dust over the North Atlantic and the Caribbean. But much of it stays aloft for the long-haul flight. It travels a full 9,000 kilometers to the Amazon rainforest and becomes fertilizer for the most biodiverse ecosystem on Earth.
That dust came and is still coming all the time, every day.
When you have this red dust in your hand and you think about where it's come from and all the distance that it's traveled, first it's astonishing, but yeah, I do feel somewhat, I guess, connected
with
to where this came from, or just it makes you think of, who else kind of grabbed this or touched this. I think that's just amazing, and it's happening every day.
In 8 hours, a regular day in the office, a vast cloud of fertile dust from the Sahara has flown 300 kilometers west. And here in the Amazon, 25,000 tons of that dust has fallen to fertilize the rainforests. The movement of the dust is nothing when you compare it to an even larger and faster change to the solid surface of the Earth. A change that makes this entire planet livable. And you'd be forgiven for not even noticing, because it happens in the most hostile and remote parts of the Earth. At the poles, in the vast sheets of ice that top and tail the Earth.
The sea ice, whether in the Arctic or Antarctic, is constantly changing. It can grow very quickly. Sea ice is very dynamic.
When winter sets in, satellites clock the awesome speed of the daily freeze as sea ice closes over the Arctic. And the speed with which these colossal white sheets grow in winter and thaw in summer matters to all of us. Ice is the planet's thermostat.
On a day like today, when it's warmer, I'll wear this jacket which is light-colored and reflects the radiation from the sun so that I stay cool. And that's what glaciers do every day. They help regulate the temperature on Earth.
But ice does more than just reflect heat. As the sea freezes, the salt gets squeezed out of the ice, making the water below saltier and denser, so it sinks. And this kickstarts a deep current that drives ocean circulation around the globe. This, combined with the reflective properties of ice, is what controls and regulates our entire weather system, and all driven by the minute-by-minute changes of ice.
In 9 hours, I can mow my little lawn and prune the trees.
During the winter, ocean changes from liquid to solid at a rate of 130 football fields per second. That's an area of new sea ice the size of New Jersey in just 9 hours. The freeze and thaw of seawater at the poles isn't the only way ice impacts the Earth. When ice meets land, it moves mountains and carves out valleys, reshaping the world permanently every single day. This is ice formed not from seawater, but from snow, which builds up layer upon layer under pressure until it forms the ultimate earth movers, glaciers.
Glaciers are absolutely terrifying. They are gigantic masses of moving ice, and at the same time, they're extremely beautiful.
Heidi Silvestre is a glaciologist, obsessed by the way these titanic blocks of ice flow across the Earth.
When you see the sunlight shining through the ice and turning into blues and turquoise, you've got to fall in love with them.
This enormous trillion-ton glacier began life as the tiniest flurry of snowflakes.
So of course they fall up on the mountains during the winter. And winter after winter, more and more layers of snow accumulate on top of each other. And what happens is that these multiple layers start to become very, very heavy. So the snowflakes are completely compacted by the layers of snow that are above. And little by little, this snow turns into glacier snow. And this huge mass becomes so heavy that after a while it will need to move and it will flow down the mountain.
Now, when we say glacial, we tend to mean slow. But Heidi's measurements prove we've got glaciers all wrong.
The fastest glaciers we observe can really move very fast. We've seen some glaciers advancing up to 50 or even 70 meters per day. So we see the whole thing in motion right before our eyes, and there's absolutely nothing that can stop them.
So what happens when a fast-moving trillion-ton block of ice plows into the land beneath? There's only one way to find out. Get under one. Local guide Snorri Svensson has found a way down to the very base of the glacier.
What a cool cave!
It's quite beautiful, huh?
That's awesome. Really stunning colors.
I like how that changes.
And you get these pockets that are formed by the wind, scallops.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
It's incredible to get access to the belly of the glacier,
Yes.
to really be inside it. You can feel that the glacier is alive here.
When you're inside a glacier, a trail of destruction lies all around you.
Oh, look at this. This is quite amazing here, actually.
Wow, that's a very nice piece. Typical glacier ice, and you see all these ice crystals. Like you can see these little veins,
Yeah?
and they are the boundaries between individual ice crystals. And you see there are almost no air bubbles here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's completely bubble-free. And that's because the ice at the base of the glacier is under so much pressure that it becomes a little bit warmer, and the air bubbles can squeeze out between the ice crystals and escape. So it makes this very nice and very hard glacier ice.
These cool little rocks inside.
Yes, exactly, all these little sediments and pebbles that are being carried by the ice. And glaciers are these massive conveyor belts constantly moving forward and reshaping the landscape around them. So there's a lot happening even right now, yeah.
How does a city-sized block of solid ice move like a liquid? It becomes one.
La glace, quand elle est vraiment très froide et
When the
sèche,
ice is really cold and dry, it's very hard for it to move. But as soon as it starts to melt a little bit, you see how it can slide and move easily. And that's how glaciers flow every day.
You can even hear glaciers move. This is not a sound effect. It's an actual recording of a glacier as it plows its way through a mountain range.
Glaciers make a lot of noise because they are constantly moving. There's always something going on. Sometimes we hear, like, gunshots. It can be crevices opening up, ice breaking. We even hear the sound of rocks being crushed by the mass of ice. And if you sit down to enjoy the landscape and you really focus, you realize how active glaciers really are.
Minute by minute, hour by hour, these giant blocks of ice are breaking mountains into boulders, boulders into rocks, and rocks into dirt. Globally, there are 200,000 glaciers, a combined bulldozer bigger than France, working 24-hour shifts to reshape the land. In just 10 hours,
I could have gone into labor and had a child.
Between them, the world's glaciers have ground out over 3 million tons of sediment from the Earth. Nothing glacial about that. As we approach the midday mark, much of the world isn't how it started. A nuclear reactor has given rise to new land. Land that has been contorted by extraterrestrial forces.
There is basically no fixed point on Earth.
Land that doesn't just move, but can actually fly.
It's happening all the time, every day.
Bringing life to our planet.
Because forces are working against each other, which brings life to the Earth.
And we're only halfway through a single regular day in the life of the Earth.